Say hello to Week 8 of the National Football League and Fantasy Football. This is CBS Local Sports, who we're starting and sitting for Week 8. Dave Richard, Jamie Eisenberg, Ryan Bass here with you. Jamie, your quarterback start of the week, in fact, among any position, is Philip Rivers.
He should be fantastic. You know, it's a great opportunity for him to come out and continue to do what he's doing. 48 or more passes each of the last 3 games. He's been 30 or more fantasy points over that span. Longest streak of 300 yards or more in a game 4 straight times. And Baltimore secondary is terrible. They're top 3 in terms of fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. So I think you'll see Rivers continue to do what he's been doing. Another great game for him.
10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions over the last 4 games for Rivers as well. What are we doing with Drew Brees this week?
This isn't going to be popular, but I would sit him this week. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the matchup because the matchup's actually good for him. I think that the Saints are trying to be a run-first team. We've seen it now. He had a great matchup last week against Indianapolis, only had the 1 touchdown. Came close on another one, didn't get it. So I think that Drew Brees is someone that fantasy owners could consider avoiding this week. There's a lot of other guys that are a lot riskier than Brees, but Brees has been a risk this season. I believe only 2 games with 20-plus fantasy points. Might be only 1. He hasn't been himself.
At running back, who do we drag into that starting lineup this week?
I think Ronnie Hillman's got to be the guy going up against Green Bay. And Green Bay, tough matchup for him, but not the toughest on the board for running backs. And Hillman's going to be the lead rusher for Denver. I think he's got a good chance to score, get you around 80 total yards on top of it.
Darren McFadden was one of the more popular waiver wire pickups this week, but pump the brakes on him, huh?
I think he can. You know, it's just a tough matchup against Seattle. Now, you know he's going to get all the work because Joseph Randall's not going to play. Kristen Michael, I don't think is going to be a factor. So it's a good situation for him, and hopefully he comes out of this game playing well. I'd love to see it because then it gives us another option that we can use moving forward. But I don't think he scores. I think his ceiling is probably 6 or 7 fantasy points. Better in PPR because we didn't really see it last week. This week could be a game where he takes over that Lance Dunbar roll-up we saw 2 games ago, catches the ball quite a bit. So PPR, he's a start. Standard, he's a sit.
Last week's waiver wire hot name was Stephon Diggs. You're putting him in your starting lineups.
So should everybody. I mean, I don't understand what people are waiting for. He's been fantastic the last 3 games. He's been Teddy Bridgewater's go-to guy, scored his first touchdown last week. We'll see if he continues to pick up, you know, more red zone opportunities. I know, Dave, you alluded to that earlier this week, that it could be a concern for him. But the way he's playing right now, it doesn't matter. You know, you're looking at a guy, PPR, he's a monster. Standard leagues, I think he's a safe start. He should have a great game against the Bears. 11 touchdowns allowed to wide receivers so far for Chicago.
Who are we sitting at receiver this week, Dave?
Man, I wish Brandon Cooks was playing like Stephon Diggs. And I wish I hadn't picked up Cooks in a bunch of my leagues this season because he's been frustrating. He only has 1 game with double digits in fantasy points, and it came in part because of a garbage time touchdown with 4 seconds left on the road against Philadelphia. I can't trust him. If I'm not trusting Drew Brees, I can't go and trust Brandon Cooks. He's at best a flex.
The best tight end the last 4 weeks in fantasy? No, it's not Rob Gronkowski or Tyler Eifert. It's Gary Barnidge, and you're starting him again this week.
Well, I mean, this is pretty much how it's been going. And as long as Josh McCown is under center for Cleveland, I don't mind trusting Gary Barnidge. I like him better in PPR leagues than non-PPR. And I'm worried about what's going to happen when they're in 1st and goal situations. He might get double covered down there now because defenses know Barnidge is a target for McCown. But outside of the red zone, I think he's going to get a lot of catches and a lot of yards. You keep rolling with him.
Who do you have an uneasy feeling about at tight end this week? Someone you'd sit?
Eric Ebron. The Chiefs have been fantastic against opposing tight ends. Eric Berry, since coming back from his lymphoma situation, he's done a great job in that. He's been one of the best cover safeties on tight ends that we've seen this season. And I think Ebron will struggle. He's been great since he's come back, or when he's been healthy. You know, when he's been able to finish a game. He scored a touchdown in all 3 of those games. But I think this is one of those games where he struggles. So I like the option I like the ability that Ebron has showed this year, but this is going to be his worst game to date.
That's who we're starting and sitting for Week 8. You can always get in touch with us on social media at Dave Richard, at Jamie Eisenberg, and at RY_Bass, or at CBS Fantasy. Thanks for watching, guys, on CBS Local Sports.